If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 14 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will die on August 8th, 2025. I'm also predicting that his funeral will be on August 12th, 2025. It is also possible that instead of him dying on August 8th, there will be a relevant, clear prophetic sign that will occur on August 8th that will reveal that Paul Simon will die on August 12th, and therefore August 12th will not be the date of his funeral. This time-stamped email proves that this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025 has been known since November 9th. We can see here the timestamp November 9th, 2024. On November 8th, 2024, we received the relevant prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And as I wrote right here, God was pointing to November 8th ahead of time because Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And this is the reason why Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In short, the date 8:1 and 11:8 hint at Revelation 8:1 in the Bible, which describes a period of silence that was observed in heaven. Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. As I wrote right here, it is exactly 38 weeks between November 8th and August 1st, 2025, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83, for which 38 weeks hints at. All right, the analysis that God was pointing to August 1st was 100% correct. However, Paul Simon did not die on August 1st. Instead, God provided clear and relevant signs related to Paul Simon, which revealed adding 7 more days to reach August 8th. The sign we received was the news report, the breaking of the news of the sale of the storied mansion in Los Angeles that was built for the most prolific TV producer in history, and God uses extremes and records for his signs. Aaron Spelling, who produced the longest-running drama series in history, Seventh Heaven. That's how we get the addition of 7 days to reach August 8th. And Simon is associated with mansions, or I should say in God's signs, mansion theme and symbolism is related to Paul Simon because his biggest solo album was the Graceland album, and the song Graceland is about Elvis Presley's mansion. There's lots to that for why God is using this theme. But this is immediately recognized. I've been following Paul Simon's signs for years now, and I've known about this theme of mansion symbolism for over 3 years. And so that's why it was immediately recognized that this sign involving the sale of this mansion, and one of the big signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion. It's not only a mansion sign on August 1st that we received, but the story was the sale of the mansion. And that's again because one of the signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion back on July 1st, 2022. And that the details of that prophetic sign are explained elsewhere. Now, another thing about the 7 days connection is Paul Simon at this time on August 1st he still is, but he won't be by the date of August 8th, touring for his new album, 7 Psalms. The cover art for the album is from Thomas Moran's Two Owls, and it depicts owls. And on this same August 1st date, another prophetic sign was a mass shooting in the 41st state. Paul Simon was born in Paul Simon was born in 41, and the reason for that, the significance of that, is that the word he is equal to 41 in simple English gematria. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. And it is a key that opens the bottomless pit in one of the 7 trumpet judgments in the book of Revelation that follows the period of silence that was observed as in the sound of silence in the beginning of Revelation chapter 8, Revelation 8:1. And Paul Simon is known for being a music composer, and music compositions use music keys. And also, so that's why the key, the 41st state, clearly hints at Paul Simon. In general, God uses the mass shootings for symbolism for the mark of the Antichrist, which is also mentioned in that same trumpet judgment, is alluded to anyway, in that same trumpet judgment in which the key opens the door to the bottomless pit to the demons that will cross over into the earthly realm and demonically possess people who have taken the mark of the Antichrist, which is the thing that comes out, which is symbolized by the things that come out of guns and go into people. That's why mass shootings are prophetic signs. So we have a mass shooting in the 41st state, and it was in the bar named the Owl Bar. The name of the bar in which the 4 deaths occurred, and God is associated the number 4 with Paul Simon and his signs in general, and that's explained elsewhere. But it was 4 deaths, and that's because the door that opens to the bottomless pit is symbolized by the number 4, because the 4th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the symbol for a door, and it's the key that opens the door to the bottomless pit. And so that's why the number 4. And so it was 4 deaths in the Owl Bar in the 41st state. Paul Simon's born in 41, and hints at key. And he was born on the 13th day of the month, and the 41 is the 13th prime number. And so that's why we also have the number 4 there. And when we add 7 plus 4 days, we get a total of 11 days. And we add that 7 plus 4 days to August 1st, gets us to August 12th. And also August 12th is 11 days after August 1st. And on August 1st, the story was the sale of the mansion, which sold for 110 million, which hints at 11. In other words, what I am saying is that God is also pointing to August 12th. And I believe at this time that it is the date for the funeral. But if this isn't correct, it is because Paul Simon will die on August 12th. And instead, on August 8th, we will receive more clear, relevant prophetic signs that will probably involve the number 4 and indicate adding 4 more days to reach the date on which it is predicted that Paul Simon will die on August 12th. But as of right now, anyway, I believe that Paul Simon will die on August 8th. 7 days after the 7th heaven sign the sale of the mansion of the producer of 7th Heaven. And also, by the way, Paul Simon's Graceland album released the song The Boy in the Bubble, and that song was inspired by one of Aaron Spelling's TV movies, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Another connection between Aaron Spelling, the mansion sale, and Paul Simon. And also, The Boy in the Bubble song is from the Graceland Mansion album, and that album is Paul Simon's best-selling album, solo album, and it is the 7th album of Paul Simon. Now, the reason for going into this right here at the beginning of this little introduction, the main point here, is that I predicted Paul Simon's death on August 8th, back in November of 2024. For those that are reasonable, for those with eyes to see, this will be clearly recognized. Again, I predicted back on November 9th, 2024, that Paul Simon would die on August 1st. Then we received the clear and relevant signs that indicated adding 7 days to reach August 8th. And so when Paul Simon dies on August 8th, as is predicted, it will therefore mean that I predicted his death on August 8th, if you will, back in November of 2024. The reasonable person will recognize that this is true. A dirty bomb is a conventional explosive that uses radioactive material. I am predicting that 3 dirty bombs will explode in New York City, in Times Square, Penn Station, and Grand Central Station. There will then be a massive evacuation from Manhattan Island. I am predicting that these 3 dirty bombs will explode on either August 30th or September 4th. I am also predicting that a dirty bomb will explode in the port of Los Angeles on September 4th. I am predicting that Tehran, Iran, will be nuked by the US or possibly Israel on September 7th, 2025. This will obviously be in response to the dirty bombs that are predicted to explode in New York City. I am predicting that Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom will die in a plane crash in St. Louis as they are traveling from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in Busch Stadium in St. Louis on August 2nd, 2028. This will be during the predicted presidential campaign of Gavin Newsom. As a result of Gavin Newsom's death, Michelle Obama will become the Democrat Party's presidential nomination. Michelle Obama will, quote unquote, win the election over J.D. Vance on November 7th, 2028, and will become the president on January 20th, 2029. Donald Trump is predicted to run as J.D. Vance's vice president. This scheme to overcome the 22nd Amendment will backfire and inspire Michelle Obama and Barack Obama to run on the ticket with Barack Obama as Michelle Obama's vice president. She will then step down and Barack Obama will become the president again. It is predicted that there will be a massive Mary apparition on the beach in Rio, Brazil on April 24th, 2029. It is now recognized that there will be 2 massive Mary apparitions on the beach in Rio. The first of the 2 is predicted to be on March 22nd, 2029. These predicted Mary apparitions will not be secretive. They will be mainstream, worldwide news. Like all Mary apparitions in history, including at Lourdes, Guadalupe, and Fatima, this Mary apparition will be a demon pretending to be Mary. It is predicted that on April 26th, 2029, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the 5th trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons. It is predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the grave on April 26th, 2029, and it is possible that on this day, Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. The resurrection rapture event will occur on Pentecost on May 27th, 2029. On September 11th, 2029, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth in the Indian Ocean. The greatest seismic effect of this will be felt on the other side of the globe, which is North America, and this will trigger an eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the East Coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2031. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. All right. Welcome. God is pointing, regarding Paul Simon and his predicted death, to 2 dates, August 8th and August 12th. This video was originally recorded when it was believed that because logically the latter of the 2 dates comes last, that would be the date that Paul Simon would die, August 12th. However, it has been considered, and it's possible that Paul Simon will die on August 8th, and the reason why God is also pointing to August 12th is that this will be the day of his funeral. And so in other words, I'm predicting that Paul Simon will die on August 8th and his funeral will be on August 12th, or that he will simply die on August 12th. And the reason for him pointing to August 8th is that there will be clear, relevant, related signs to Paul Simon that will reveal adding 4 more days to get August 12th. Anyway, the point is that this video must be watched. It's extremely important, and it'll explain the reasons for why God is pointing to, or how God is pointing to August 12th. And when the predictions comes to pass, it should be realized by the wise person that every minute of every video on this channel, including the Paul Simon videos, must be watched, because God is telling these extremely important stories through these signs and connections that are different in each video. And through the stories, he is communicating essential and extremely important knowledge. Again, I'll just repeat it to be extra clear. I am predicting that Paul Simon will die on August 8th and that his funeral will be on August 12th. And this video is about August 12th, and it was recorded when it was believed that August 12th would be the day that Paul Simon would die. So all of the information that I'll be explaining for how August 12th is known is still 100% valid. Just realize that I now believe that it will be the day of the funeral instead of his death, which is predicted to be on August 8th. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will die on August 12th, 2025. Okay, as we can see here, this prediction is being made on August, that's the subject. Yes, the date, as you can see in this time-stamped email, is August 2nd, 2025. In other words, this prediction is proven to be having been made prior to August 12th through this time-stamped email. I'll just go down here as well. I forwarded it. All right, and you can see here the timestamp, August 2nd. All right. So that said, it has been known for years that the death of Paul Simon will be a massive prophetic sign. And it was known since November 9th, 2024, that God was pointing to August 1st, 2025, regarding the death of Paul Simon. And that's because August 1st, the date 8:1, hinted at Revelation 8:1, which describes in the Bible a period of silence in heaven. And Paul Simon's first big hit that launched his career was Sound of Silence. Now, August 1st was not the date that Paul Simon died. It was a step in the trail of signs. And God has been using, in among many things in these trails of signs regarding Paul Simon, mansion symbolism. There's all kinds of reasons for the symbolism of mansion, including the Antichrist residing in the White House mansion. But Paul Simon's Graceland album, his biggest solo album, and the song, the title of the album is Graceland, but the song also, Graceland, is about the Elvis Presley mansion, the Graceland mansion. And so one of the signs on August 1st that was amazing, that confirmed all of the analysis that God was in fact pointing to August 1st, was the sale, it was a national news story, the sale of the storied mansion in Los Angeles that was built for the most prolific TV producer in history, Aaron Spelling. The name of the mansion goes by the Manor or Candyland after his wife Candy. And that sale of the mansion was for $110 million. The number 110 is extremely prophetic in God's signs in general. For example, Joshua led the Israelites into the promised land, and they then enacted a symbolic 3 sets of 7. In other words, it was a 7, and the Graceland album is the 7th album of Paul Simon's. And Joshua, who led the Israelites, died at the age of 110. They entered into the promised land on the date 110 in the Hebrew calendar. Jesus officially arrived into Jerusalem on the date 110, this Nisan 10 date. That's the name of the month in the Hebrew calendar. And the second coming would be symbolized by 2 times the date 110, or in other words, 110, which is why it was 2 times 110 stories that collapsed on 9/11. It was a massive sign that was communicating the second coming of Christ, in other words. And so this number 110 is in general very, very prophetic, but especially here too because of, again, the number 7. And Simon is now on tour, for example, promoting his most recent album, 7 Psalms, which he claims to have been directed to make in a prophetic dream through a voice. And anyway, that's all explained in other videos, but 7 Psalms is interesting too because following the period of silence in heaven in Revelation 8:1 is the 7 trumpets of God's judgment and destruction. So in other words, the period of silence is the warning before the judgment and destruction. In other words, the death of Paul Simon will be a warning before the judgment and destruction in the 7 trumpets that are described. Paul Simon also has a big hit named Late in the Evening, which is in itself the name symbolic of coming judgment and time is running out. But also that song is known for its heavy use of trumpets. Okay, and so what I'm saying is that the $110 million mansion sign, in short, on August 1st, confirmed all of the analysis because it was a mansion sign. And also there are connections between Aaron Spelling and Paul Simon. For example, the 3rd song released from the 7th album, as in 3 sets of 7, as I just mentioned, was The Boy in the Bubble of Paul Simon, and that was inspired by the Aaron Spelling TV movie, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, just for example. Also, Aaron Spelling, God uses extremes and records for signs. Aaron Spelling was the producer of the longest running drama series in television history, Seventh Heaven. But anyway, the $110 million mansion indicated adding 11 days because 110 hints at 11. For example, it was Flight 11 with a crew of 11 that flew into the Twin Towers that looked like a giant 11 in New York State, the 11th state, and the towers were 110 stories. So it was all part of this 11 symbolism. Jesus coined the phrase the 11th hour, which in ancient Israel referred to the last hour of daylight before darkness, and in English is an idiom that means last chance, time is running out, as in last chance for America to repent and turn back to God after the warning on 9/11. Now, so that's why we knew, or God revealed, adding 11 days. Okay, and so again, I knew of August 1st since November 9th, 2024. And then Paul Simon didn't die on that day, but we received the relevant, clear Paul Simon signs, and that was just one of them, and I only scratched the surface of that one. But that one revealed adding 11 days. Okay? It also revealed adding 7 days from the 7th heaven to August 8th, and I expect clear and relevant signs on that date to confirm adding an additional 4 days to get to August 12th. All right? So I want to be clear here. I've known, in other words, the death of Paul Simon on August 12th, essentially, since November of 2024, right? Because I just explained it, right? If you didn't get it, you won't get it, so don't worry about it. You know, you're just going to remain a skeptic and an atheist, that's fine. But I'm pretty clear, and I think I explained it well enough. I've known August 1st since November of 2024 for Paul Simon's death, and then God revealed signs that indicated adding an additional 11 days to get August 12th. And so therefore, I basically understood or knew that Paul Simon would die on August 12th, if you will, since November of 2024. All right. And in the meantime, I haven't been making videos for every day of the year between November 2024 and August 1st. That was the next step. Like the signs on August 8th, 2024 were like the most recent step, if you will. I mean, what I'm saying is that I did not make videos with reasons for every day of the year leading up to August 1st, and likewise doing so for, leading up to August 12th. And anyone that would do that would be a crazy person, and the person that thinks that that's what's going on here is the crazy person, because that's completely irrational, right? No one would do that, right? No one in their right mind. And if you think I sound like someone who's not in their right mind, well, go for it, right? You're just being crazy, though. You're being irrational. And the bottom line is the reason why is because you really don't want there to be a righteous God that you are accountable to for your sin, and praying to a God and things like that in the morning are not comfortable for you. You're icky. It's icky for you. You don't like that concept. You want to be independent. You don't want there to be a God. And so you follow irrational conclusions when faced with evidence for God. and this would be an extreme example, because I'm predicting that Paul Simon will die on August 12th. And the date, as I just showed you of this video, yes, the date of this, the post date of this video proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time. And the date of this email, August 2nd. So it's clear. I'm predicting this ahead of time. I'm not making a video for every day of the week or every day of the year in hopes that Paul Simon will eventually die. That's ridiculous. He could live another 7 years. That's absurd. Why would anyone do such a thing? But furthermore, the reasons that I'll be explaining in this video for how August 12th is known are extremely profound and clear. And no human being could concoct these reasons in their own imagination. In other words, this is clearly from God. You'll see these explanations for how August 12th is known, again, could not be invented in a human being's imagination. All right? And they're clear and profound. So let's get into it. Let's start. This email is documenting the prediction that singer-songwriter Paul Simon will die on August 12, 2025. Paul Simon is predicted to die on August 12, 2025, exactly 7 times 7 times 7 weeks after Paul Simon had his prophetic dream in which a voice instructed him to produce a new album and title it 7 Psalms. The theme of this album is transitioning into the afterlife. We're predicting Paul Simon to die and transition into the afterlife on August 12th. The name of Paul Simon's most recent album is 7 Psalms. And Paul Simon's death is predicted to be exactly 7 times 7 times 7 weeks, as in 3 sets of 7, which I already explained the prophetic significance of how this is derived from the Bible, after the date, which, by the way, was January 15th, 2019, that Paul Simon had this dream in which he claims he was instructed with a voice to make the new album and title it 7 Psalms. Okay? So that's, in other words, that can't be, that's a clear, profound, more than profound, because it's 7 Psalms, and we've got 7 times 7 times 7. And furthermore, God repeats the number 3 times for emphasis of its symbolic meaning, which is why it's 3 sets of 7 in the book of Joshua, like I was explaining. Okay. Also, in the 3 sets of 7 in the book of Joshua, the Israelites blew 7 trumpets, and Paul Simon's death will point to the beginning of Revelation chapter 8 with the sound of silence that was observed in heaven. And that is a warning in the Bible of the following 7 trumpets of judgment. In other words, Paul Simon's death will be a warning of the fulfillment of the 7 trumpets of God's judgment. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. and therefore it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more. Don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, Jesus loves you, unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the odyssey.com or rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.